Well, hello, folks, and welcome to a new episode of Speed Street. My name is Connor Daly, and we appreciate you listening to this show or watching this show wherever you're at. There was two races in the NTT IndyCar series that happened over the weekend, and if you're a first-time listener, I drive the number 76 car. There were no sponsors on the car this weekend, so it was white, gray, and green. We were on the front row for one of the races. That was very exciting. And there was a lot of good racing, honestly, to talk about. There was some good racing, and I think a lot of people were maybe negative Nancy's about this race going into it. Fair. But as we've said multiple times on this program, don't discount IndyCar short oval racing right now. That was a long sentence, but I don't think you can. I think IndyCar deserves praise. I think the series, our technical officials, leadership, I think, a lot of people were complaining. Going into this weekend, even at the test, I would say that we were unsure. But I think it ended up being two solid, not the best races, like the first stint, race two, race one, first stint when we weren't really sure what was going to happen yet. Were we going to save fuel? Maybe that wasn't the most exciting, but then it got better. And the drivers got more brave. We took it into our own hands, I believe, which we will talk about. And we made it happen. So a lot to talk about. Chase Holden is obviously joining us from a parking lot. Making it happen, making the show happen. I am covered in sweat currently. I just got out of the simulator. We interviewed Pato O'Ward earlier. I got to interview him because Chase was getting government documents all taken care of. So I interviewed Pato. But Chase, give us your thoughts. I mean, Iowa. I do care about what you think about this. I saw lots of tweets, lots of following of the event. And you got to give us your thoughts.
Absolutely. First off, see you in Toronto. I have a passport now.
Nice.
Aside from that, finally, big in motion day for us on Speed Street. Connor, I think once again, like you said, the product is not the problem. There are a lot of other issues at hand, some out of our control, mostly all kind of out of our control. Maybe a few little things in our control, but for the most part, we saw what I think Saturday was probably the most electric race out of the two. And then Sunday, I really enjoyed Saturday's race. Sunday's race, it did seem like we did have some great action. Andretti, they got to figure out tires. Tires were a big problem for Andretti, as you know. And I can't wait to hear your side of that from in the car and how that played out, because I know that was I was a mad moment. I may have thrown the remote. But that's just out of passion. And aside from that, I'll say that we're probably going to get into attendance. We're probably going to get into ratings. I'll save some of my comments for that. But for the most part, once again, the product does not disappoint. Shout out to Scotty Mack for being an absolute dog on Saturday, doing what he did. Just got to give a big shout out to him and to a couple other people. But for the most part, not a disappointing race. Maybe kind of just a disappointing overall stand product, I guess you would say. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot to say, obviously, over the weekend. Before I just get into the results, if you didn't watch, race 2 was a race that was going quite well for us in the number 76 squad. And I won't lie, I think a lot of people, if you followed me a long time, I hate to say it or kind of make it, a thing, because, my girlfriend Amy tells me this all the time, like, oh, it's not, you don't have bad luck. And I'm like, I know. And I don't necessarily believe in luck. I really don't, because I feel like every time I show up to a race weekend, I show up ready to just control what I can control, do everything to the best of my ability. And if you do everything you can do, that is all you can do. If there are outside factors, B factors that I've learned that they've been called, that you cannot control, then that's just life. But I feel like I've had just some results stripped away from us at times in my career. And this race 2 was really hit me in the soul. It hurt like crazy for my pit crew, for my squad. The guys who on the second to last stop got me a position in the pits, moved me from 4th to 3rd. The engineers that work hard to give me a great car, to be in the worst possible position after the last yellow. And again, sadly, it's because of a tire failure on an Andretti car, which could have been prevented. Like everyone else was fine. So I obviously it's not Colton's fault. Love Colton, but like those guys had the mandates from Firestone. They had the, realms of tire temperature that you were supposed to be in. And again, you can't point at anyone, but there was, obviously only one group that had this happen. Obviously Christian Rasmussen had it happen to him in the test, but this weekend, just the yellow caught us at the exact worst time. No matter what at Iowa, you will lose 2 laps if you just pit. Like if let's say you pit from 2nd, 3rd in line and everyone's lined up, you're going to lose 2 laps. That's just how it works. It's a short oval. Now, if cars are spread out, as we saw, some cars will lose 1 lap because they're at different points in the track, or maybe there's people that get caught up in traffic. But where I was, I pitted from 5th and I lost 2 laps because I end up coming out exactly where I was on track, right in front of Marcus Armstrong. So we didn't lose a ton. We lost maybe a 2.5 seconds in the pit lane exchange because of the pit stop, my entry into the pit lane. And, Alex Palou was 2 cars in front of me. So that would have been, 1 lap down. But everyone had to pit. But the yellow comes out at the worst possible time ever and literally completely flips our day and makes it a trash bin. And honestly, this one hurt so badly because as a driver, it's really freaking hard work to do this stuff. Everyone is very good. And obviously, there's a ton of people lately who have been, talking wild crap to me, and like I hate seeing it because obviously it's due. We're 18th in points. I get it. You know what I mean? But we qualified the thing on the freaking front row. We ran up front all day, and to go from running 3rd, 5th, 4th, whatever it is, to 16th. I mean, it's like being stabbed in the face, like right here underneath the eye, like in the cheek. I feel like I got stabbed. And so I just hate it for the fans and for our team. And honestly, this was we needed points this weekend. We could have at least vaulted ourselves up at least 2 or 3 spots in the points had we just finished where we were before that yellow. 5th, 4th, doesn't matter. But yeah, that one hurts so bad. So I had to say that because I have a podcast and I want to be honest with folks. We can talk a little bit about the details of it, but the science behind it is, you just have to nail it when you pit on short ovals, and we did not. Joseph was a victim of it twice, and not quite as bad, but we happened to be in the worst possible case scenario, and that was it. So
yeah,
had to get that off my chest.
That's the one thing though that keeps this in a situation where you really can't call it bad luck. You weren't the only one that got caught up in this. I mean, that's some tremendously bad luck for Joseph Newgarden, which had a great run in the Saturday race. He finally got back on podium. Penske looked like they were back, but then they had a terrible run on the second race. And it's like you said it, and I heard a lot of other drivers say it too, that's the nature of IndyCar. That is the nature of this sport. You know what you sign up for. Yeah,
but not for Scott Dixon and Alex Palou. That's the thing. That and again, they are the best teams, but
strategy.
Scott, the most annoying part about it, this is what's so hard about IndyCar racing. And again, it's not This is part of the sport. But I think we lapped Jacob Abel and Renus like maybe 2 or 3 times during that day, but there would be a perfectly timed yellow to where they could get back on the lead lap and get the wave by. I passed Dixon 3 times during that race and never saw him again. Dixon couldn't even get by Abel when we were going through traffic. Dixon finishes, in the top 3, and you're like, man, I just don't know how that happens, and it never doesn't happen. So and again, if you look at that all the time, that's a tough reality to live in. But it is just funny. It is funny to see they still, whatever it is, whether it's experience, whether the decision makers over there are truly wizards. Maybe there's some sort of magic witchcraft going on over there. I don't know, obviously. But,
technology.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
No, they definitely have intuition locked in. I don't think that they were predicting Colton Herta to blow a tire, though. But I will say that they were put in the right spot. But like the main thing here is like, how many times have you been through something very similar to this exact thing that happened to you in Iowa in your entire career?
Well, I mean, we point to Milwaukee last year. I mean, 2 races at Milwaukee, we finished on the podium. In the second race, we're like, here we go. We're going to take advantage of a lot of points. The clutch fails. Like, I just, it's something that it's so frustrating. And, I hope we can, I plan to show up at Toronto this weekend, ready to go. And like, let's not get too, down the way of being upset. But I gotta say on this show, because I'm a race car driver and I like to talk to the folks that understand, a lot of people tweet at us and a lot of fans are commenting on things. Well, it's super simple to look at, and it's super simple to say, well, why did you do this? Or why are you upset about this? And I'm like, because this is all that I do with my brain and my body. I train, we focus. This is really hard work. We put our entire lives and our existence into this. I live weekend by weekend because I don't know what's going to happen next weekend, because who knows what's going on in this world of IndyCar racing, right? I mean, this is why it matters so much and we care so much. And we have a lot to talk about too with like the crowd and the ratings and stuff like that. But I just wanted to express a little bit of emotion there, because it was a really hard weekend and it's going to be tough to get over. So anyway, let's just read the results real quick, Chase. Because obviously we like reading the results to make sure people know who did what, in case you didn't watch. Because again, sadly, looking at the ratings, not a lot of people watched. Race 1, Pato O'Ward was the winner. Joseph Newgarden second. Will Power third. Chevy sweep. Finally, Chevy gets a win. I'm in the Chevy facility now, so shout out Chevy. Scott McLaughlin, again, drive of the day. That guy was on rails. Looked really good. Alex Palou fifth. Christian Rasmussen sixth. Me seventh. Santino Ferrucci eighth. My best friend Marcus Armstrong ninth. Scott Dixon 10th. Graham Rahal 11th. Graham Rahal, honestly, like a low-key good weekend for Graham Rahal on the short ovals. Like 11th. Oh, that guy couldn't eat, that guy was, I felt so bad for him at St. Louis, and he came back and was a decent day. So David Malukas 12th, Colton Herta 13th, Louis Foster 14th, Marcus Ericsson 15th, Renus VK 16th, Felix Rosenquist, tough day for him, Kiffin Simpson 18th, Devlin DiFrancesco 19th, Schwartzman 20th, Christian Lundgaard 21st. Tough day for him on the ovals. Stingray Robb, my teammate, 22nd, Callum Ilott, Nolan Siegel, Alex Rossi, Kyle Kirkwood, and Jacob Abel, who was the first to crash. And then let's just get right into race 2 really quick. I want to make sure everyone knows what's going on, and then we'll talk about the rest of it. Alex Palou was the winner. Scott Dixon was second. Marcus Armstrong was third. David Malukas was fourth. Pato O'Ward fifth. Great points haul. Christian Lundgaard with, I believe we talked about this with Pato, maybe his best oval result ever with 6th place. Again, took advantage of that last yellow very timely and very, very smart. Felix Rosenquist 7th, Christian Rasmussen 8th, Schwartzman in the top 10 for Prema on an oval. Again, nailed the strategy, nailed the right call. Joseph Newgarden was 10th, tough day for him. Jacob Abel, his best finish of the year, of his life in IndyCar. P11 beat his teammate Renus VK in 12th. Really, I mean, honestly, happy for Jacob Abel. I got to be happy for him. Kevin Simpson 13th, Louis Foster 14th, Santino Ferrucci 15th, me 16th, Alex Rossi 17th, Kyle Kirkwood, Graham Rahal, Colton Herta, Callum Ilott, Marcus Ericsson, Stingray Robb, Will Power with another engine failure, Devlin DiFrancesco, Scott McLaughlin, and Nolan Siegel, who obviously did not start that race. So we have the results. Let's get into a little bit of chatter about it. You want to start? Let's just start with qualifying and the weather. weather, wild. Friday, we saw a tornado from the racetrack. That was one of it. That was a first time experience for me. Tornado sirens. Kyle Kirkwood was fascinated. He had never seen a tornado before. Obviously, he's a Florida man. That was kind of, I mean, it already set the weekend into okay, this is going to be a wild Saturday, because we knew that we hoped that we would get qualifying in for sure, that we would at least get some practice in. And shout out to the track drying team and the IndyCar officials for getting us, essentially a full schedule in, even though it was in 2 days. I mean, that made Saturday extra hard, though, on the crews, on us as drivers. I mean, these race cars, I kid you not, these race cars are insanely hard to drive in Iowa. Like, I saw someone say, "Oh, make the race 400 laps." I don't think anyone would survive, honestly. I think our arms would not be able to take that. It's impossible. I mean, these cars are insanely physically hard to drive. When you're flat in qualifying doing 17.5s, like, it's absurd. So Friday was a crazy one. We sat there, we watched the tornado drive by. Thankfully, everyone seemed okay. It didn't hit the track. We didn't get, no one was damaged. Thankfully, that could have been really bad for the teams. But let's move right into Saturday. So Saturday, the practice, boy, that practice goes by quick. But they tried to get us up to the Highline early. Obviously, the Highline practice session was very, very important. And as I said after the test, I was like, maybe we just do a big Highline session. And they did. But right as we got back to the regular practice, you could tell everyone moved to the bottom. It is faster, running the bottom lane. But race conditions were obviously much different, as we talk about. But practice, we felt good. We felt pretty confident with everything. And to give you an idea, the downforce that was mandated, the downforce that we tested was hole 5 in the rear wing. And we, at the test, decided to trim to hole 4 because we thought we had a lot of grip. And so IndyCar had made a choice, along with talking with Firestone, to maybe mandate hole 4 on the rear wing. So that's a little bit less downforce than the test. So there were some people trying that downforce the first time, but that was still enough for us to be flat out around the Iowa Speedway on new tires. So for qualifying, it actually became quite entertaining because you're like, all right, now we're trimming out. Now this is like the Indy 500. Who's going to run what downforce? Who's going to be brave enough to run hole 3, hole 2? We decided on our car to run hole 3 on downforce because we thought maybe hole 2 was a little bit too sketchy. And gosh, we were 200ths from a pole position. Really, really difficult to not get that pole position. I really wanted that for our team, for our group. But our first lap was as good as really I could get out of it. The second lap, the only reason that was slower is because we caught the rev limiter into turn 1. So these cars are geared to basically run either 6th or 5th, depending on what speed you're carrying. And I thought, like, the first lap we were running 5th, and I don't know if we caught a tailwind or something into 1, but it pushed us just into the hard limiter on the second lap, which is why it was slower, sadly. So we got killed there. A couple other people dealt with the same thing, but that's the only reason why our second lap was slower. Otherwise, I feel like it could have maybe been a little bit faster, like we saw other people take advantage of later on. But again, to qualify 2nd and 7th, it equals the team's best qualifying ever. Is their best qualifying ever on an oval. And we're on the front row with a Penske car as a small team.
Huge.
So pretty pumped about that. Really, really proud of our squad. And I mean, Chase, what did you think after qualifying? Were there any big surprises for you?
Well, Scotty Mack basically entering the matrix into the wall. The entire camera just was obliterated. That, honestly, I felt more.
That was a high G impact, by the way. He said it was he said that was a high G impact, and I was like, I'm not going to say the number because I'm not going to out anyone, but that was a hard hit.
Anytime that you break a camera like that on live television, So you already knew how hard of a hit that was. That was probably the biggest surprise of all. I was not surprised that you qualified up front at all. I had a very good feeling you were going to be able to put it together. We've seen what you guys can do at trim. So that was really cool to see, though, because, like, I don't know if you noticed on social media, I don't know who shared it. There was an image of you and Joseph as young little lads together. And it was like,
that was
together
my mom
again.
That shared it.
Okay. So that was your mom. All right. Well, that picture right there, I wish you guys would have gotten one together before the race so that you could do the side by side comparison. So maybe that's something to, if you guys do the 1-2 again at Milwaukee or any other track this year, because Penske may be back. I feel like you guys are just kind of getting better and better now as the data starts to continue to collect. And I really saw this weekend as a anything goes type of deal. Like I've seen Iowa enough now to know that the strategy is so important. It's kind of a race off pit road at the end of the day. So the strategy is going to matter tons, especially with cautions. We know that Iowa is a place where you get a lot of those, and we did see that once again. Remember, there was a time this season, Connor, we had no cautions until the Indy road course. So, things are definitely returned a little bit back to normal. So there was that sense of normalcy there. I thought you had a great race, and I hate that, lost some spots on some of the pit stops. But other than that, seeing Pato get a win was great on Saturday. I feel like that's huge right there, not just for Pato, but for Chevrolet, because what is the last time Chevy hasn't won a race yet in a season? That's a great stat I would love to see. How long has it been since it's taken this long for Chevy to win a race in IndyCar? I want to know. Yeah, so somebody knows, let me know. But I feel like this was the tipping point, right? This is a turning point, and I feel like with some of that momentum from Chevy this weekend, getting that on Saturday, even though Honda shifted back on Sunday, I just, like I said before, Saturday was that big race for me. It did get the least views out of the races, but I do have something interesting to say about the whole viewership angle. But yeah, and with everything that went down on Saturday, I thought it was great. I was hoping to go and find a spot to go put all the TVs on in a restaurant or a local bar or something like that. Didn't get the opportunity to, but anytime we can do that, it's always good. But the big thing I guess that I want to know is what was it like? Typically when you have a weekend in Iowa, like what is that weekend like for you and the drivers, and how was it different this year than years past?
Well, we were just hoping that it would be a good race. That was the thing. I think a lot of us were unsure about it. We didn't know if it was going to be a good race. But, to give you an example of why the race 1 played out the way it did and why race 2 was so different, the year before, the cars were less draggy because of the downforce package. This year, with the aero package, the cars were way more draggy so that you could not make the same fuel mileage as last year. And the pace was basically just slow because no one went anywhere last year. So, there was some genius who tweeted me, he's like, "Oh, you shouldn't have stopped at the end of the race on race 2." I was like, "Dude, and the commentators, they could only say what they could say, right? They knew that last year you could almost do 100 laps on fuel. No shot this year. Impossible. Not even close. But on that first stint in race 1, I basically was committed to not passing Joseph because I was like, okay, we're going to try to save fuel here, and we're going to try to go as long as we can go. And we're going to see, because we got to figure out what's going to happen. And then as soon as we got that first caution, we fell into the 3 pit stop window. And from then on, it was just maximum attack. We basically went into full attack mode. And after when the first yellow came out, we pitted. We went from 2nd to 6th, which that was tough. That was a shame. It was a tight in for me to get into my box, but you know what? It was just a tough pit road execution for us, and immediately had to do some work on the restart. But from then on, it was basically flat out the entire rest of that stint and the race. So it became full push, full attack. We struggled a little bit in the middle stint, but once we took that first restart, I feel like the field spread out a little bit. We started to get a little bit too wide. People started to get up to the high lane, which was actually really nice. And it was something that I was excited about because it helped getting through traffic. The race started to get a little spicy. But overall, the race, without a doubt, improved as soon as that first restart happened. And, I had to work my way back up to the top 3 a little bit. And as that race played out, it was just maximum attack. And the yellows were kind of timed timed pretty well for our pit stops. Really, it was almost like everyone started fading right at the end, and there was a yellow of a stint. So once we start to get to the midpoint of the race, we're basically just trying to keep track of right front tire temperature. That was a big question going into this race. This is the first short oval that I had actually had a lot of the tire temperatures on my dash because we knew from Firestone, we were like, hey, keep an eye on the right front. We don't want the right front getting above a certain temperature or else it could explode, which, again, that's completely fair for them to say. It should be on us to know the limits of what we've got going on. And it was trying to manage a little bit of that. And honestly, we faded a little bit at the end of the second stint, and it was a combination of a few small things, but the balance had not gone off. The balance was quite strong. I had a bit of a moment in one of the corners and got passed by Rasmussen and McLaughlin. And again, just trying to hang on to it a little bit till the last stop. And that last yellow essentially put us right back into contention, but I just wish there was a few more laps. On that last yellow, we were able to pass Santino, who got ahead of us in the pit cycle, and we were, honestly, if I had one more lap, we would have passed Rasmussen. We were much faster than him as well. Our short run car was very good, as usual, and just ran out of laps. So again, it felt like a top five was kind of where we were supposed to be. I don't know if we had the same speed as Joseph. Joseph was very good. Pato was very good, but also very good strategically. They nailed it strategy wise, and we kind of knew that we had a good car for the next day, but we had to figure out a way to actually get the steering to be a little bit different, a little bit lighter potentially as well, which we did. And I found out that every other driver had done that with the steering as well for the entire weekend. So we had some extra heavy steering in race one, which we didn't need to have. And turns out, joke's on us, everyone had taken all the caster out of their cars and made the steering much lighter before the race even started. So we were able to get that lined up for race two. But race one finishing seventh, we were honestly really disappointed. It was a shame. We did score some points. We did have a decent result, and to be upset with seventh, I would say that's okay. But I just thought we deserved better, and the way the yellows fell did not help us tremendously, but it is what it is. And to see, Pato win was good for the series. To see Joseph kind of back on the podium. Obviously, Will Power as well had a good day. And, credit to Will Power. Will Power said in his interview, the only one going up to the Highline was me, and I got that started. So, honestly, and Chase, I want to get your thoughts on this too, but I think I might have created something for IndyCar with this Highline stuff. Maybe starting in Milwaukee last year. I feel like I might have created a short oval racing exodus, a short oval race. Exodus isn't the right word, but it sounds cool. A short oval racing
buzz. You've kind of made a short oval Highline buzz
because I'm going there, and I think other people have been forced to go there because they do see that it works. And honestly, Will Power is right. The only people that have control to keep that high lane clean is us. We have to go there. And it is harder, but in the long run, on these race runs, it works. And, credit to Will Power for saying that, but I believe that I've created this whole new Highline usage phase that I think has been beneficial. Now, again, I'm not the creator. There are many, many, pioneers before me, but it seems recently all of this Highline stuff has been where I've gone and not many people have. But then race two, I'm trying to go to the Highline on Power, and he blocks me into the wall. Alex Palou in race one, he blocks me all the way up into the high side because he's going high, because he knows I'm going high. So all these people have become a lot more switched on to the strategy that I'm trying to do. So it doesn't quite work as much, but it still does work overall.
Yeah, I'm going to say that you're a Highline shaman. You're helping the others face their fears. So you're getting them
True.
to run up top. I love that because like we need more of that, right? Like we want to see good passing. We want to see high action races. That's what IndyCar, at least for me, when I look at IndyCar, the way it looks, your fighter pilots out there, I think you explained it to children once, like you're putting a rocket ship on wheels. That's a great way to explain it. That's the product we want to see. And when you get on that high line and you can create that passability, you can create all of those different grooves, that's what makes it such a spectacle every week. So thank you for doing that. I'm so glad more people are turning on to that idea. And I know that when we get to Milwaukee, it's only going to be even more of a hype train when it comes to the Highline. So that's one I'm really excited to see because now the cat's out of the bag. So when we do get back to that other oval, that's going to be fun to see how that plays out. So definitely good to see it working out here though.
No, it does seem to be that way. So that's race one. One major thing that did happen towards the end was obviously Nolan Siegel crashing. That crash actually happened right in front of me. He was the car directly in front of me, and I saw the hit. Was not good, and he did not get cleared to race on day two. So that's a big deal. I mean, there's now Linus Lundqvist has been announced as the potential reserve driver if Nolan isn't cleared for this weekend. That's a wild situation there. But yeah, hate to see that. But race one was, it set things up for, I think, an exciting race two. I believe, I know you liked race one more than race two, but I thought race two got a little bit spicier the way the yellows fell and the way people were able to race. But I know for a fact that race two, I don't want to get too much into it because Alex Palou won again. So that's, I don't really get it. I would say he didn't even have the fastest car. I would say they again had the smartest day.
He said strategy. That's what he said.
So at the start of race two, I obviously knew exactly where I wanted to go. I was going straight to the Highline, and people were awfully more defensive of the Highline this time, but I had to go half a lane higher. And so I was able to get a couple guys on the start, was able to get a couple folks as well on the next restart after the first yellow. And I'm finding myself now in third. I'm finding myself exactly where I want to be. We want to be in the top three. We want to be navigating in that area. I thought our car was even better during race two. I thought we were consistent. I thought everything was going kind of the direction that we wanted it to go. And as the cautions fell, you seemed to see when they were falling. There was a consistency. It was towards the end of the stint. I don't know if people were making mistakes because the cars were so hard to drive. I'm not sure if the tires were a bigger issue. I think, thankfully, we talk about the fact that there was no deg on these tires, and they're like, oh, we need more deg on the tires. There actually was deg on the tires, and you did have to take care of the right front. Like when I got to third, or when I got to the front early on, like I was like, I think fifth or sixth or something. Pato was behind me. Pato dropped. I mean, there were some people that commented like, oh, why'd you fade so much at the end? Like, what? I was like, Pato faded a ton on the first stint, and you had to keep track of your right front tire. We asked him about it in our interview. But it's something that I think it was a deal that you had to pay attention to. You had to keep track of your right front tire temp. You had to manage the tools in the car to make sure that you weren't overheating it. And that was kind of cool for us to do as drivers. And it was a tough race, but I had a huge loose moment as well coming towards the end of the last stint. We were running fourth. And Pato, I was trying to defend from Pato, and I was able to navigate through traffic a little bit better than him. But I don't know if it was the wind or something, but we had a huge loose moment into turn one. And I mean, I should have crashed. I absolutely should have crashed. No idea why the car did that all of a sudden. I'd still like to get an idea of what our set down was on the car and what everything looked like in the suspension after, because it did feel like we might have had something fading a little bit there towards the end. But saved it, got it going again, still running fifth. And again, like I mentioned earlier, that last yellow, that was the killer for us, but can't criticize it because there are others that were doing the same thing. Joseph had pitted. Christian Rasmussen, I saw him pit behind me to try to do the undercut. And when we pitted, let me tell you how ideal it was, because my team pitted because they saw on our little race watch technology that if I pitted, I would have come out in clear track, which is what you need on new tires to make an undercut work. And if it goes green the rest of the way, I truly believe we actually would have been in a great position because we came out of the pits right in front of Marcus Armstrong, exactly where I was previously on track, with clear track in front of us and new tires, and I was flying. And then there was a yellow. So, it is a risk. It's a gamble. Should we have absolutely not done it? Of course, hindsight's 2020. It's easy to criticize everyone for that. But there's reason to do both. But it is really unlucky that we got caught 2 down. Getting caught 2 laps down is the worst possible scenario. And like you said at the beginning, Chase, I was not the only one. It was the same for Santino, same for Alex Rossi, same for Kyle Kirkwood. We were both trapped, 2 laps down. Kyle Kirkwood pitted. Kyle Kirkwood, he had an alternate strategy as well. He restarted from the lead on that second to last restart, trying to, make that last pit stop work.
He found a strategy.
Yeah, they tried it and it didn't work for us. So that was a gut punch. But again, I thought the racing was better. I thought the event overall, I mean, my gosh, I thought the racing was fun. I really did. I thought that there were some fun moments. It's really fun running up front, obviously, as well. But yeah, I mean, what did you think after race 2, Chase?
No, the race itself was fun. The race was great. I always love a good race. I just love strategy. I love watching the cars go round. I love watching the cars go straight, left, right, whatever. And I think that there's a lot of other IndyCar fans, a lot of other, motorsport fans in general that like that too. The one thing that I could not get over was just how much attention kept getting shifted to the attendance in the stands. And it's like, we're paying attention to all the things that are not the product on the track. And I understand it's disappointing, but I think that second race really just kind of like hammered in. I felt like that's all I saw online on Sunday. Instead of talking about the race, instead of talking about what we were seeing, a better product than Iowa from 2024, we wanted to talk about the attendance and how no one was there and how SVG was going to win Sonoma. That was essentially Sunday. And I just have to say this much with it. And everybody that watched that race and truly watched and like tuned in knows what they saw. You guys trusted the data. Sometimes it'd be like that. And that's just the way you have to look at it. It's true. Like sometimes it's like that, if you're a gambler, you're going to trust the stats. You're going to trust the data. You're going to win sometimes. You're going to lose sometimes. You may not be winning as many as you want, but you're still trusting the data. I think that was the right call at the end of the day. But with the attendance, I just want to say,
we got to get into that. We definitely got to get into that. That's a tough one. And I have a lot to say about it.
I know. And so like, I want to be short because I want to hear what you have to say. Cause I tweet my stuff out and put it out there. But the one thing that I will say is this: stop blaming the track constantly for being the sole promoter IndyCar. That's not the only reason that people weren't at this race. There can be multiple reasons, and I feel like everybody wants to have a finger to point somewhere. But there are multiple things that you can look at. I think the biggest one is that Hy-Vee did such a great job for so many years. They had Post Malone, Ed Sheeran. You had some big name people. You know what I mean? Like you had some.
You mean Ed Sheeran? Ed Sheeran, Chase?
Ed Sheeran. That's my special way.
Ed Sheeran is from New Mexico. He's just hanging out in the plains somewhere.
He tours with Blink-182.
Yeah.
So I'll just say this: like when you have those types of events and promo, you're going to get more people that want to come out. Iowa always draws a great crowd. They got a rowdy bunch out there. They really do. So with everybody complained about the racing product last year. Everybody keeps complaining about, we need more ovals and people don't show up. There's so many factors that were at play here, but to point it all on just the track, and I'm not saying the track's in the, that they're all clear here. I feel like you could have put a tweet or two out, but it's just, I feel like everybody's just pointing fingers at whatever they can right now. And it's just kind of grabbing straws. And I just had to get my say out there. Like, just don't pin it all on the track. I guess.
Well, but the thing is that you have to remember, it's not the track's job to promote it, I believe, because there is, IndyCar at Iowa. Like, if you look at the track's Twitter account, a lot of people got really angry at the track's Twitter account, Iowa Speedway. I did too, because it's only about NASCAR. But the actual promoter and the actual group that is the IndyCar race is IndyCar at Iowa. Like, that's the account or whatever it is, something like that. And again, they're trying to put out everything they can. But I actually, I don't know how it can be this bad, because and everyone on the internet's right, of course. No one has any idea, like, no one actually thinks through things before they say it, and everyone's got the answer. But a lot of people say, oh, like, even looking at the ratings, right? Like, oh, we got a race on Saturday. Well, no one watches on Saturday, and 200,000 more people watched on Sunday. You know what I mean? And I thought the Saturday race was great, and it was almost Saturday night. It was 5 p.m. Eastern. You know what I mean? So
that's it.
I don't know how, that's a tough argument still, is like, well, we got a race on Saturday night. I mean, I understand that, but that's a whole separate conversation. But the attendance, it honestly, I was talking, I rode around on the driver intro, like, trucks with Joseph Newgarden on day 2. It wasn't in order. We just got to the same truck and we just talked about it. And it was very sad to see. And I honestly don't know what the answer is, but I do know that I went into Des Moines on Thursday night for dinner with my team. And I didn't see a single thing about the IndyCar race. Never saw one thing on the way into Des Moines. Never saw anything on the way out of Des Moines. And I don't know what it takes to promote a race, but I know Hy-Vee did it right. I know Hy-Vee was putting crazy stuff out there. I mean, they were doing everything they could. They're bringing in, and now again, they're spending a lot of money. Does it take a lot of money? Yes, absolutely. It does take a lot of money to do that. And is that the only answer? Maybe. I'm not sure. Like, I don't know how much money, Souk Up or whatever the groups that sponsored the events. I don't know how much money is put into promotion. I don't. So I can't be an expert, but you would have never known that there was an IndyCar race. And Iowa, Des Moines was popping. There was a ton of people, a bunch of kids. I was standing across from Adventureland, which is like a little theme park. It was full, kids everywhere, a lot of families, stuff like that. People. So there are people in the surrounding areas. And I also don't want to hear about like an expensive ticket or anything. I mean, I don't believe it was that expensive to attend the event. And but again, our short oval product has been so good this year. I don't know why there weren't more hype videos posted, just for the promoter of that event, whoever it was. I don't want to see Iowa go away. I truly believe that we had a better race. I think that we had an exciting race. And all that you saw around town or anything was about the NASCAR race. And again, they have a lot more money than us, but someone is dropping the ball here. You cannot have like 1,900 people at a major motorsport event. I find it insane. And maybe it is partially responsible for the folks that were just always saying it's going to be crap. Like, you can't say that a race is going to suck before you see it. I'm sorry. Like, you can go off of all last year sucked. That's fine. You can say that, but you can't just immediately say, because part of the problem is, well, I'm going to say it sucks, and that's probably not going to get anyone to go. But you know what I would like to do is I'm like, hey, look, Gateway was sick. That was awesome. It's a short oval. And I think, who's working on trying to make it a better race? IndyCar and the series. Like, we're not just sitting around. So it just gets me fueled up. I have I must have signed like 8 autographs this weekend. And sadly, the autograph session, that didn't get to happen because it was on Friday because of the crazy weather. But I mean, there was no one there. And for those who did come, we appreciate you. And for those that did show up, the campers that were there on the back straight, they had my face on the side of the truck. That was awesome. We appreciate you guys. Like, we appreciate the passionate IndyCar fans. But our racing, our racing deserves to be seen by more people. Good. I don't understand. I don't understand why no one was there. But what I do understand is that if no one knows that it's going to be there, they're never going to magically show up. So you have to drive we need to be at this event. We have to drive home the message, like, our oval racing is sick. and it's cool. And because it has been this year. Let's put out highlight tapes. It doesn't matter if it was bad last year. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Is 2025, 2024? Nope. It's a different year. It's a new thing. So I think part of the problem is how negative people get all the time about, certain things about our series. And again, you know what, do what you got to do. But it's apparently it's more fun for people to be negative than positive. I've seen that plenty of times around the internet. But I just believe that, again, IndyCar did its job. We put on a better show. And sadly, no one was there and no one watched it on TV. Which is a shame.
Well, I will say this. If you take both days and combine them together, you got 1.29 million views.
There you go. All right, we'll take it combined.
There you go. So Iowa 1.29 million Saturday and Sunday. Now,
yeah.
The other thing
let's talk about let's say the ratings really quick just so people know. So obviously, so the Saturday race was 576,000 viewers and the Sunday race was 719,000 viewers. So again, 700,000 seems to be our new low average number, which and the 576,000 on Saturday, that's just flat out sad. I don't know how that's possible. I've now been a part of this sport for so long that we've all been trying to get ratings up and all this stuff, and Fox is working their butts off, but I don't know what the answer is. But I know for a fact that I don't see anything about IndyCar, in a lot of places where I see stuff about other sports and NASCAR.
Yeah. I will say that Fox is still optimistic. They're still out there talking. I saw Adam Stern put out that it's still up 27% on the year. So that's a good. Yeah. It's a great thing. The one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because I've been seeing some rumors online, we're talking about Iowa. We don't want to lose that track. We do love Iowa. We're hoping that we do get some more short ovals on the schedule going into 2026 and 2027. What are the odds of this dropping down to one race next year, do you think?
I think it actually should only be one race. I think physically and for our crews too, I think it's insane that it's two races. I don't believe it. I think it should be, I've been on the simulator now 2 straight days and then obviously 2 races in a row. I am completely wiped out. And I am those 2 races are tough. Yeah. We train for that stuff, but realistically, I think the Indy NXT race was good as well. I thought the Indy NXT race was good. We need to hype that up. Miles Rowe, shout out winner.
Got it done.
I wish that was more of a big deal for a Saturday thing. If we have a 2-day race weekend, all right, cool. Well, let's do, practice, another practice, or maybe practice, qualify, practice, and then race on Sunday. And the Indy NXT race is maybe an afternoon or evening race or something on the Saturday. I don't know. I think it could be better as a one race, but I don't know. Yeah, I thought the Indy NXT race was good, and I think that should be something that should also be excited for race fans, because I'm a race fan. I watched it. I was excited.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Miles Rowe getting his first win there on an oval, that's huge. We've interviewed him here. You should go check that interview out. It's one of our older interviews. Definitely go listen to that one, though. Fashion forward guy. Very happy to see him get the dub. You were talking about the families too, that were in Iowa. There's just so many motorsports fans up there. And I know now that NASCAR is back in Iowa, that a lot of people may have shifted their attention, but
and that race is sold out.
Yeah, for sure, obviously. But also too, there's a lot of ways to do that. But I will say that that promotion and just letting people know that something is there is what's important, because even when you had those big talent acts at the Hy-Vee shows, you still had a ton of people in the stands, and there were a lot of people there to see the show, but I guarantee you there was just as many people there to watch the race as there was to see the concerts. And that is one thing I can say for a fact because of the times that I had been to that track and seen that play out. So yeah, I feel like it's just kind of it was a weird hump. And lately too, since Gateway, I feel like maybe conversation has drifted down a little bit. I haven't seen as much ramped up conversation across the board as I normally do. And I don't know if that's just a me thing in my echo chambers of social media or what, but The more we say it week in and week out, the more we're talking about it, the more we introduce people to it, the better it gets. And it takes an army, it takes a team, and we keep laying it down. We can get there, but they got to get a billboard or a banner or something for the children's down there in Des Moines. You know what I mean? Get down to Des Moines, get a banner or a billboard up there.
I mean, the whole city was popping. Like, I just like,
what do they do there?
I got to see something. Like, I don't know. It's just so sad. Like, I hate to say it because I don't want to be, but we're fighting for, we're going out there putting our, minds and bodies on the line for, just such. I don't know. It should be a bigger deal. I feel
very
like
big way.
We go from St. Pete, Long Beach, which are sellouts. The Indy 500 is a sellout. Why on earth is we have? I mean, the Indy 500 is obviously a class of its own, but you could fit like a quarter of the Turn 3 grandstand and fill up all of the seats at the Iowa Speedway, right? Like it's one of those things that I just and honestly. People have short attention spans, and they know what they're familiar with, and everyone's familiar with the Indy 500 because it's been around for forever, right? I still just think people don't know that IndyCar races at other places, which is crazy. And I hope we can find an answer to that. I really do. And this is why we're doing this show. I really wish, we were going head to head against the Xfinity race, which was great. It was a great race on Saturday. Yeah. Again, NASCAR's Tier 2 series is far more watched than our series on the CW. All of our IndyCar fans got mad about 100 Days to Indy being on CW because no one would watch it. No. Guess what? If people want to watch it, they're going to go find it. And a million people are watching Xfinity every weekend. So I don't want to hear that excuse. It's not usable. I'm sorry.
We need a poll, Connor. You need to make a poll on X. I feel like we just get creative and make a poll. There's a lot of people that'll vote on that. Let's start making polls. If we could get every driver and every team manager to make a poll, just something random. Let's gather the data. Let's figure it out. Let's make polls, dude.
Polls on what? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Just figuring out what people are doing that claim to be IndyCar fans on the weekends when they're not at the track. That's the polls. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have the answer, and I wish I did. And there's sadly all the folks that do, that love to chime in. We know that you're watching, and we appreciate that. But it's the common viewer. It's the viewer that might not know exactly what to watch on a Saturday. Like honestly, I'm not into baseball personally. I respect it, but it's not my thing. I'm not into. I like golf, but I'm. On the weekends, and leading up to the weekends, like the sports that I'm into are not. I'm not really seeing them. So unless I would want to watch racing. Like if there's racing on, I'm like I can't wait. We've been racing every weekend, so I haven't had a lot to watch. But it's just something that I'd love to know what is again. People are going to say, well, we got to be outside, so I recorded. That's fine. If you record it, that still counts. Like the DVR still counts. So like that's cool. Well, yeah, anyway, we could talk about that a long time, but I just know that it's tough. And I do hope that you give IndyCar racing a chance. If you haven't watched it, I mean, you got to watch it. Like you can't say that it's a bad product. I truly believe, like we've had some tough road course races. Yeah, maybe not the greatest of road course races, but I think a lot of our racing has been better than Formula One. Some of the NASCAR races have been great, but NASCAR's just on all the time and they're a powerhouse. They're going to get millions of viewers anyway. But that's a tough one. I want to get. I don't want to spend too much more time on that because I think we've got into it, and we got to get into Toronto this weekend because we got another race coming up, and I got to get to the airport very soon. So, Chase, we've got Toronto this weekend. I want to give people the tune-in information for the television so they can make sure they don't miss it. We're back to street course racing. And I hope to God this is a good street course race. I hope it's a good race. I think it will be better. It's July 20th, 12 p.m. Eastern on Fox. 12 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. Please don't miss it. I assume the folks like Colton Herta and the Andretti cars will be strong once again at the street courses. I assume Alex Palou could also win another race. Who knows? Pato O'Ward, we talked to him in a little bit. He says this is his worst race ever. So maybe he has a good weekend and figures it out. I'm not sure, but I want to get into some picks for this weekend, Chase. I know you're going to have picks, obviously, your grid rival picks as well. But I want to start with my own pick because we're going to get into Toronto. We were just doing a lot of simulator work at Toronto. I haven't actually raced at Toronto in a long time. I haven't raced at Toronto since 2022. Yeah, for quite a long time. So this will be a bit of a fresh start for me. But 3 years since I've driven at Toronto.
It's exciting.
So that's kind of wild. But unless I'm missing a race that I forgot about, but I have not been to Toronto in a long time. So that'll be a tough one for me to get up to speed at, but it feels good on the sim. I'm going right out the gate, Kyle Kirkwood. That's my pick number one. Kyle Kirkwood is number one pick. He's been the street king so far.
Yeah, I'm just going to go to keep it easy. Kyle Kirkwood, Captain Kirk, the Street Shark of the year. It was Pillow last year. We called him Street Shark. Now it's Kyle. He's kind of taken over as the guy, I feel like. And Colton, I have a feeling he'll probably be there too, but let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I do want to pick Colton. I think Colton has had a tough year. I think a lot of people have had a tough year, honestly. It's been a weird championship, but, I think Colton's due for a strong, powerful display of Colton speed. And I think Colton's got to be my second pick because how can you not pick him?
Yeah, he's got to get, if he gets the pole, it's almost a lock. We've seen that game play out a million times. So I definitely have to have that. That's my two Andretti guys right off the bat. I think we're going to see two Andretti drivers on the pole. So you and I are lined up. So let's make this next one different, hopefully. Who's your third guy?
Well, I like to mix up picks because I feel like I just have to, and we got to make it exciting. But why not Joseph Newgarden? Joseph Newgarden has had a awful run at anything that is not an oval recently. It seems like he has, out on lap one in Mid-Ohio. I think Joseph is somewhere in the top three at the end of the Toronto weekend.
Okay, I'm going to, maybe some people consider this easy. I'm going with Scott Dixon, Iceman himself.
All right.
In Toronto. So I'm going with the continuation of the genie in the bottle strategy moments happening in this race. So I think we'll see Scott Dixon. So yeah, we both have Kirkwood, Herta, Dixon, and then you have Newgarden. I like that.
I like that too. That's a strong run. Well, let's get to our interview with Pato O'Ward. We have covered pretty much everything. Well, I guess we should probably cover the fact that our team trailer caught on fire. That's true. One thing that maybe we should talk about.
How is everybody?
As if our Sunday could not get literally any worse. Sadly, there was an issue with one of our Juncos Hollinger Racing trailers. It caught fire on the way back to Indianapolis. And I'm not going to lie, this stretch of races in July is so busy and it's so hectic. And our team is working nonstop. And it is tough. Now to go to the next race, being international as well in Toronto, a lot of extra preparation. A lot of smoke damage. There's been just a lot of work, and families and other people are stepping up to help. So we appreciate the fact that those folks are trying to help out. But it's definitely stressed out our group. It's stressed out our squad, and I don't think people realize how difficult this sport is overall because you don't see what goes on the shop from Monday to Thursday, Monday to Wednesday before we get to the races. And these guys are putting in a lot of hours. The whole squad, guys and girls at the team. So it's not good. It's not good for us. But we will keep fighting through it, and we will get back. We're glad everyone's okay. Glad everyone's fine. No race cars melted either, which is good. But tough for our crew to have to basically, sort through a bunch of stuff. It's a lot of smoke, smoke damage. And stuff got covered by water. So tough one. But thankfully everyone's okay, which is good.
Yeah. Big bounce back incoming.
Yeah, we hope so. We need a good weekend in Toronto badly. So anyway, we've done a lot of good sim work this week to hopefully help us in Toronto. But with that, I think we've covered so many different things. Let's get to the winner of race 1, because the winner of race 2 we have spoken to more times than you want to hear. So here comes Pato O'Ward. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky this week to be joined by a new race winner this year. Obviously a man who has won races before, but this year, finally, he got himself to the victory circle in Iowa. I found myself, I feel like, around this driver most of 2 races, which usually is a good thing. But Pato O'Ward, congrats. Hey, you got the win. Great job. How are we feeling? Does this feel good?
Feels good, man. Feels real good. It's always, that first one of the year always hits different than second or third if you're lucky enough to get a second or third.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Glad to one day I know you'll get there. I know you'll get there. People are gonna go crazy. But man, it was a great weekend. A very crazy race too for me, and I believe for other people as well. Those yellows are always full of surprises. So that kind of put us out of contention for the win there in those last 10 laps. So we had to try and fight our way as fast as possible towards the front. But you know how it is, especially with how I wouldn't say risky, but I mean that second lane wasn't like just super easy to use. Like you needed to make sure that your car was where you needed it to be,
The first thing I want to ask, because I text you about this, but race 2, you were following me on the second to last stint, and we were just hustling along, and I had one of the probably biggest moments of my life on an oval, and you were able to get by me there. I still have not seen my onboard of this, but I would like to hear your opinion of what it looked like I was about to do into turn 1, because you had a front row seat. I just wanted to hear what you thought, because I still haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. So I didn't really see the start of the move, or start of the like the tail getting happy. I saw you like when you were sideways already, and I was like, ooh, this guy just crapped his pants for sure. Cause then you caught it. So I was like, okay, I don't think he's going to go to the wall, but I definitely think he's going to have some marble on his tire. So I was and I just dove under you. But, man, I know the problem with ovals is that it doesn't look as bad as it feels. And
maybe,
it did look, obviously me knowing what it feels like to get those moments.
Yeah, you're very loose all the time.
I knew that was a big one. I knew that wasn't just a wiggle. So, glad you were all right though. You didn't. I mean, you caught it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we might as well still have finished last anyway with the way that yellow played out, but it is what it is. I want to talk about race 1, because obviously that's why you're here. You're a winner. I thought it was a tough physical race, but it was a race that didn't have we at the beginning. I feel like everyone was like, okay, we're gonna save fuel. We're gonna try. We're gonna see what's going on. Like I sat behind Joseph, and then once we all kind of realized that that's probably not going to happen, then it was just pushing the rest of the race. Is that kind of what you wanted? Or were you guys struggling with right front tire temperatures at any point? What were your thoughts?
Yeah, the pace was quite slow when everybody was saving, and then how the yellows started falling, then that kind of like put everybody on the same strategy, I would say. Maybe not so much saving anymore, which I think it was a good thing for the racing, because otherwise you never get by anybody, and it's just a follow the leader trying to save as much as you can. So honestly, I wasn't trying to get too ahead of like, finally we're not saving, because it could have changed like that. So I was just kind of like doing what I was told and just basically trying to open my options really, in terms of windows and strategy. But it was a full push there in the end, man. Like those front right tire temps were we're getting up there, and it was always something that I was watching. But at some point, you just don't have anything else to do. If that pressure keeps getting higher and higher, either you start giving track position, where that's the last thing you want to be doing, or you just risk it. And I did my best, but I wasn't even paying attention. I was just paying attention for the guy behind not to pass me.
I think I should have done your strategy and not quite pay as much attention to it, because I feel like everyone was so, there were a lot of people that were worried. Obviously, the Andretti cars struggled with that, but it did make it to where I would say at some point, because even race 2, I believe you had to conserve your right front a little bit early. You were right behind me, and I had heard via my team that they were like, oh, Pato's already looking after his right front. So I was like, oh, okay, great. That means there's not as much pressure on me. So it was definitely something that people kind of had to keep track of, which made it interesting for us, I would say.
Yep. No, definitely. Race 2, I would say, was more of a theme for me. Because race 1, it was helped a lot by the fuel safe.
Yeah, without a doubt. So once we got a little bit side by side, because in race 1, I would say race 2, people got a little bit more brave. But race 1, it seemed like the first stint, again, no one really wanted to be the first one up there. But
you were the first one up there.
I did.
You were the first one up there, and then I quickly followed.
But you had to, right? And then as you navigated through traffic, that's where it seemed like it became a little bit more nerve-wracking. And I know race 1 wasn't as much of a difficulty maybe as race 2. I saw you might have struggled behind some traffic a little bit more than you would have liked. I remember you trying to pass Jacob Abel for like 10 laps, and it looked very frustrating. Eventually you got him. But it's one of those things that tell people about, like, the risk reward. Like, you're in a good spot. You know that there might be grip up there, but if you do go up there, you might be in the wall.
Yeah, the problem is that whenever the problem is the car in front. If the car in front is picking a lane, then you're fine. The problem is when they start changing every lap, which is what Abel was doing, then that puts you either, if you pick high, you have to go higher or lower. And the problem when you go higher is that you're going to run into a limit where there's no more grip, man, and you're flying into the wall, or you're going to just get on the marbles and like lose a lot of track position. So it's a constant, like, you know, where's your limit? How high can you go, or how high can you comfortably put the car there? And then otherwise you just need to find another option, really. If that was what I was struggling with, was I couldn't really go full second lane. I could go 1.5, maybe right on the verge of 2 lanes, you know, but I couldn't go like 2 or 2.5, like getting half a wing with clean air. Couldn't do that. So, yeah, that was the car that I struggled to pass the most, which obviously happened multiple times during the race till he shunted. That made it much easier. But yeah, it was just in race 2, I wasn't as good in traffic, and that's where I really struggled the most, because I think pace-wise I was there, but I couldn't get through traffic as good as Palou, Malukas, Joseph.
There was a lot of talk about this weekend, right? And people thought the race was going to be terrible. They're like, oh, a lot of negative Nancy's, I would say, because of last year. And last year, again, was not a great, obviously, you know, not terrible of obviously for you, but there seemed to be maybe a little bit more judgment, I believe, than was necessary, because I think both races ended up more entertaining than I thought, ended up being a little bit more movement on track than I thought. I mean, is that, yes. I would say, I want to just tell our fans, like, maybe let's not judge anything before we get there, because I think us as drivers, I think we're getting braver, honestly, and we're able to go and create that new line for these short oval races. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do believe that this year was, you know, more than twice better than last year. Last year is probably one of the most boring races I'd ever been a part of. I saw the rear wing of the same car for 270 laps or 250 laps. This year, that wasn't the case. This year, you could actually get through traffic. This year, you could actually pass people. You could actually make a difference when you had new tires versus, you know, older stint tires. I think it was a pleasant surprise to many, and I will count myself in one of those, because Um, I didn't really think it was going to be working until I really didn't have another option than to start exploring with the lanes. And when I started exploring like 1.5, 2, I was like, huh, this is working. So then I just stayed there. My car felt better there, especially in race 1. Race 2 was a little bit more difficult, but like guys were making their cars work up there, and it made it a lot better than what it was supposed to be.
I agree. I'm completely with you there. I think it's a shame. I mean, obviously there was no one at these races, which was very sad to see. And there's going to be a lot of, well, I'm going to talk a lot about this in the show, because I think the product was so much better.
Because, man, there was no Post Malone, there was no Gwen Stefani, there was no Zach Brown, there was no...
I know, but we got some great entertainment, brother. We're out there going side by side at 180 miles an hour. I feel like that's cool. Oh, I mean, when you show people this race, I mean, you got to think that this would be something that race fans would want to see. I mean, what is Pato's first move on, like, how do we get people to Iowa? Because I know it's, again, Newton, Iowa, a little bit middle of nowhere, and a lot of people were like, oh, it's normally very hot. To be fair, the Saturday race was quite pleasant. The temperature wasn't terrible. Sunday could have been worse as well. But, like, what else do we need to draw people in? Is it just promotion? Is it just, I mean, because that is obviously the $10 million question, but I want to know what you think, because I feel like we have a great product to give people.
Yeah, $10 million, I think is the name of the game here. I mean, we got to see the difference of what the place looked like with Hy-Vee, or, just what it was like, for example, now. I do believe it was more empty than I thought. That was sad to see. But, it didn't have anything going for it. That's the problem. It's in the middle of nowhere, so it's out of people's ways. The race sucked. 2 races there sucked last year. So that's another negative, where people are like, why? No more entertainment other than the race that they thought was going to be boring. So I don't blame them. I really don't. But, what was needed? Well,
yeah,
some cash, to pay some famous celebrity artist. Because that was kind of cool, what Hy-Vee did. I know they gave away a lot of tickets as well, but like at least people came out to watch, even if it was for free. And they also had like not just the race car entertainment, but they had, some pretty cool concerts that obviously probably cost a bunch of more money when you go and see them elsewhere. So I don't know, man. I think just with if it was like a city race, I think that's a different question. I think that's something different, because that's like basically shoving in like a TV show in front of someone's face, rather than going, scrolling, subscribing to where it is and watching it, So, yeah, I don't know. I think it just needed a bit more of a selling point, really, because I think it had nothing going for it because of maybe last year it being pretty dull.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, I think our product speaks for itself a lot of the times, but it does seem like we need to hook people even more aggressively. We got to get them in there somehow, get them in the front door. And, like our race at Gateway, I feel like hopefully they can play highlights of that for the entire next 10 months and sell more tickets for it next year, right? Because if you got something that hypes people up, night race, that's sweet. I mean, I think Iowa could be a night race as well, and it'd be awesome. But, I hope that we can hook more people. I hope Iowa doesn't go away, honestly. I really hope it doesn't go away, because I think it's a great racetrack.
Yeah.
But, I don't know the answer. So let's talk about the rest of the season. We've got a street course coming up again in Toronto. The championship battle, I mean, it's kind of non-existent, honestly. So, that's like, I'm not going to lie. We've all not done our jobs in beating Alex Palou. So you have, but realistically, he's still pretty much slapping people in the face. But is it just win every race the rest of the season and see where we end up, and that's the goal?
My hope right now is, I still have something to fight for. I've never been second in the championship, and that's a possibility for me. So I would love to get that done. The reality of the championship is that we need Alex Palou to not finish. Yeah, we need him to go on a 3-week vacation.
We need him to go to jail, like literally go to jail.
Literally. And then me or Dixie, or really, I think in this position, it's probably me. I have to win those races that he's not present at to make it a fight going into Milwaukee, Nashville. It's not impossible. Freakier things have happened, for sure. It's racing. You never know what you expect. But obviously, the longer this season goes, and you're kind of like, oh. Because, like, the guy's winning, still winning. Like, doesn't matter how good of a weekend that you have. When he's still winning, then it defeats the whole formula.
I mean, you're not wrong. There was 2 races, and sadly, he got one of them.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, I went into the weekend 120-something points back, left the weekend 120-something points back. With a win.
And you're a winner. Yeah. Yeah. It's tough, man. Racing's hard, apparently, especially when you're going up against those guys. And, I mean, and the funny thing about Alex, I think, as well, probably wasn't the fastest car on Sunday either. Wasn't maybe the best, but put himself in the right position, executed on the strategy perfectly, and that was that. They stayed out the latest at the end there, and that's what it takes to win all the time. It's crazy. It's hard to go up against that.
Yep, they outsmarted us.
I want to ask you about a fake tweet that was out on the internet that said Pato was going to do Love Island. Pato, would you ever do Love Island? There was some fake news that was out there on the Twitter sphere, but said you were confirmed.
I've never watched. I don't what is the point of this Love Island? Is it like just people go and like they just get freaky, or?
To be honest, that's what I've heard. I have not watched this show in my life, but it does seem to be, there's not a lot of, sports. We've only got racing through the summer, and there's baseball and stuff like that. But it seems like people are captivated by Love Island. So I'm not sure, but apparently the internet thought you'd be a great candidate for it. Would you ever do a love reality television show?
Probably not.
That's a good idea.
I've heard they want to see me on The Bachelor.
I
mean, man, I
love. You got to be ready for love.
Get ready for love. Yeah, I feel like I'm one of the very few bachelors on the paddock.
I think so. That used to be me way back in the day. Yeah, now you're the guy.
I'm very happy in my relationship. I'm the guy. So I don't know. I probably not, but. You never know. Never say never.
All right. Pato on The Bachelor. Lock it in. I can't wait.
Would you watch?
That'd be very entertaining. Dude, I would record that every week. I might even watch replays. Like that'd be hilarious. You would be hysterical on that.
I feel like I would break rules.
You might get in trouble.
I don't have patience, mate. Not good patience.
No patience. So you'll know right at the front door. Be like, nope, yep, nope, that's it.
Yes.
There you go. All right. Yes. We know the key to Pato's heart. Perfect. That's going to do well on the internet, I'm sure. Anyway, back to race. We'll get a couple more questions in for you. Who was your biggest surprise, would you say, in Iowa? Because I think that there was a couple. I would say David Malukas in race 2 was pretty strong. He's been good at almost all the ovals, but up there most of the day. And then all of a sudden you had the strategy at the end that put people, like Abel finished 11th somehow, and I feel like we lapped him 4 times. But it's wild how these races play out, right?
I would say it was shocking how bad, how perfectly timed, but how badly timed Joseph's hits
Oh.
were on race 2. That, like, man, that was horrible for him because he was definitely up. He was dominating for the first third of the race. I would say I was shocked at seeing Santino, your best friend, struggle. He's usually pretty pretty salsa in the ovals. Malukas was very strong. He's been very strong in the ovals, just starting in Indy, really. You were strong, but that wasn't really a surprise. I thought that, there was a lot of cars there in the end in race 2 that got extremely lucky. So I would say like 80%.
Your teammate had his best oval finish ever. Was that Lundgaard's best oval finish ever, or no?
Yeah, I think it was. I don't know where he was during the race, but I don't think he was in the top 10. I think he was like 15th or something the whole race. So like, he was definitely one of the ones that got lucky. I think Armstrong got very lucky. Felix got hosed in one of the pit stops, and then that one brought him back to life. So I feel like there was definitely the typical IndyCar rear to the front, front to the back shuffle in pure IndyCar fashion.
I went to the back. Yeah, I've never been more victimized by a yellow, I think, more in my life.
Yeah, I also went to the back.
I went 2 laps down.
Oh.
Yeah, that was tough.
You got wrecked there.
Yeah, that's how life works out sometimes. But anyway, Pato, we appreciate you being here. Honestly, it's great to talk to you. The people love when Pato's on the show, and we respect that. Hopefully, Toronto's a great weekend. Hopefully, we have really just kind of a solid run here into the end of the summer. We need to finish the season strong with ratings, with people that are coming to the track. What is your highlight race that you're looking forward to finish out the year? What's the race you're most looking for?
Highlight race looking forward to. So we've got Toronto, we've got Laguna. Laguna's a very good market for me. A lot of Hispanic and Latinos go there.
There you go.
I'd love to have a great weekend there. I can say the same for Toronto. It's been the toughest track for me, like, ever. That's been my worst track every single year, every time I go in IndyCar. So I would love for that not to be the case, because I do believe Toronto's a beautiful city, stunning women. So
all right,
let's make it a good one, and then, we're going back to Milwaukee. That's where Pato O'Ward came to life. We've got some good ones coming, Portland, Nashville. So yeah, I think there's some challenges coming up, and there's some good tracks, but we're gonna try and make them all good.
I respect that.
Yeah, but on non-racing note, did you see Bitcoin, man? All-time high.
To the moon.
To the moon, baby.
To the moon.
Let's go.
Hey, we're still on the rocket ship. We're still on the rocket ship.
Respect the run, bro. Respect the run.
I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you. I love it. Hey, real quick, this is a good question that I thought of. Kyle Moyer is now a part of your team. What's Kyle Moyer? What has Kyle Moyer brought to your group, and how has that been so far?
So I actually haven't had a lot of time to really like sit with him and talk to him. He's more on a Nolan side. He's also very quiet. Kyle's very quiet.
Yeah.
And he just he looks like a very good listener. He just, really, it feels like he's in the sponge phase where he's just taking it all in and just really like, seeing what needs help or what needs to change, So I think we're going to see some more of Kyle later on. And what all the good he's going to bring to the team. But for now, I've been pretty, I would say, surface level, because I don't get to really see him all weekend, rather than like sitting across from him in the engineering. But usually we don't really talk about, too much stuff that isn't relevant to the current weekend. But I do expect myself to have more interactions with him probably when the season ends a little bit. Yeah.
Good. There you go. And let's hope Nolan's okay this weekend too. Poor Nolan.
I think. I mean, he flew himself back Sunday night.
Oh, then that's good.
So
That's good.
So he should be fine.
Yeah, I'm hoping he's all right. Poor guy. That accident happened right in front of me on Saturday. That was a tough one. So fingers crossed for the teammate who you're going to celebrate his 21st birthday with him. Hopefully.
Oh yeah.
It'll be a big one.
All right,
Pato.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. People love you on the show, and we will see you north of the border in Canada.
See you there. Safe travels over, bro. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Well, we appreciate Pato joining us. Pato is awesome to talk to, honestly. Really respect race. I've raced him, I feel like, more this year than I ever have, and it's been fun to battle with him and race against him. Good racer, good clean racer. There were some racing moments in race 2 where I thought people were going to bounce off each other. Will Power and David Malukas included. It was crazy. So thankfully I wasn't involved in that. But I've got to get to the airport, so let's get to the Ricky Treadway Random Indy 500 Driver of the Week.
Greatest event of its kind that's ever been run on.
Let's meet the drivers. Who make up the field?
This week we went to the 1927 Indianapolis 500, won by George Souders, of course. Everyone knows that. We found the 21st place finisher, Al Cote. Albert Edward Cote. I think that's the way it's pronounced. American race car driver. Attempted to qualify for the Indianapolis 500 twice. In 1919, he did not qualify. While in 1927, he qualified 29th. So, again, I found it. Another one-time Indy 500 starter. 1927 was his only Indy 500. Very little information about this Al Cote. He did live a long life, 86 years old. He died in 1974. He was born in 1888. That's crazy.
Jesus.
1888. That is astounding. What a different era of life. That's crazy. So
What a guy.
Anyway, Al Cote. Tune into Toronto this weekend. It's going to be great. Hopefully we can have a great chat with a new winner next week. But we appreciate you listening. Subscribe everywhere. Leave some comments. Tell us what you think about it. We loved racing in Iowa, and hopefully it's still on the schedule next year because I believe it deserves to be there. So thank you for being on Speed Street, and we'll see you next week. Hey everyone, Connor Daly here. Please leave a like on this video if you did enjoy it, and also subscribe to the channel as well. That would be very helpful. Be a friend, tell a friend. Thank you so much for the support, and we'll see you on the next episode of Speed Street.